Hello everyone, I am Lahidan Michael Marquez and today I will be discussing the information age and the surface web. Now let us delve into what is information age. The information age is the modern period in history when information became a valuable resource and the main driving force of society, the economy, and everyday life. It is characterized by the rapid creation, sharing, and use of information made possible through personal computers, the internet, and digital networks. This era, also known digital age or new media age, began in the last quarter of the 20th century, replacing in the industrial age as the dominant era. Sa madaling salita, ang information age ay panahon kung saan naging makapangyarihan ang impormasyon dahil sa teknolohiya at internet. Now, dadako naman tayo dun sa characteristics of the information age. The first one was the digital technology, the rise of computers, smartphones, and the internet made access to information faster and easier. The next one was the global connectivity. People around the world can connect instantly through email, social media, and video calls. Also, the information as power. Knowledge and data have become more important than physical goods. Companies and government use information to make decisions. The next one also was the automation or AI. Machines and artificial intelligence now perform tasks that once required human effort. Lastly is the shift in work and economy. Many jobs move from industries and factories to information-based services such as IT, banking, online businesses, and digital marketing. The next one that I will be discussed was the development of the information age. The first one was the pre-Gutenberg era. A long time ago, before the printing press, Pacquiao lang dun sa mga hindi nakakaalam ng printing press. Ang printing press ay makinang ginagamit para mag-imprenta ng mga libro, dyaryo, at iba pang babasahin. Ito ang nakatulong para mapabilis at dumami ang paggawa ng mga kopya ng impormasyon, kaya mas maraming tao ang nagkaroon ng akses sa kaalaman. In pre-Gutenberg era, sharing information was very hard. People learned mostly through stories told by others. Only rich or powerful people had access to books, which were written by hand on tablets or paper. Life was slow and knowledge spread very slowly too. The second one was the Gutenberg era na. Everything changed when Johannes Gutenberg invented the printing press. Now books could be made faster and cheaper. More people learned to read and share ideas. This helped spread education, new thoughts, and even religion. It gave ordinary people a chance to learn and express themselves. The last one was the post-Gutenberg era, or today. Now we live in the digital age, where the internet and social media connect everyone around the world. We can use Google, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and other apps to share information, study, or even do business. People like Tim Berners-Lee, the creator of the World Wide Web, Steve Jobs, which is the Apple, and Bill Gates, the creator of the Microsoft, helped create the computers and gadgets we use today. Today, information spreads super fast, but it also changed the way society works, since many old systems and traditions are disappearing because of technology. To sum up lang guys, para mas madali nyong maintindihan, noon, which is yung pre-Gutenberg, mabagal kumalat ang knowledge at pang-ilit lang. Nung may printing press, which is yung Gutenberg era na, dumami ang libro, mas marami tao ang natuto. And ngayon, which is yung digital age, information is mabilis na. Lahat may access pero may kasamang pagbabago sa society. So, yun lang naman dun sa part nung sa development of the information age. The last one of the part of the information age is yung sa impact nito, which is yung positive and negative impact of it. So, ano nga ba yung positive impact ng information age? Yung positive impact ng information age, the information age provides easy access to knowledge, faster communication, economic growth, technological innovation, and greater convenience in daily life. Dun sa part naman ng negative impact is the information age also has downside, such as unequal access to technology, risk to privacy and security, job loss due to automation, health problems from excessive gadget use, and the spread of misinformation and addiction to digital media. So, that's all sa part ng information age. The last one that I will be discussed was the surface web. The internet is made up of different layers: the surface web, the deep web, and the dark web. Among these, the surface web is the part of most people use every day. It is visible portion of the internet that can be easily searched using common search engines like Google, Bing, or Yahoo. What is surface web? The surface web, also known as the visible web, is the portion of the World Wide Web that is accessible to the general public. It includes websites that are indexed by the search engines, meaning they can appear in search results when you type in a keyword or phrase. Sa madaling salita, para mas maintindihan ng lahat, ang surface web ay ang bahagi ng internet na madaling ma-access ng lahat, kasama ang mga website at apps na nakikita sa mga search engine tulad ng Google kapag may nahanap ka. And dadako naman tayo dun sa examples includes, which is the first one was the social media sites, which is the Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The next one was the news websites, which is the cable news networks, GMA News Online, and ABCBN News. And lastly is the online stores, which is the Amazon, Lazada, and Shopee. Importance of surface web. The surface web is important because it allows anyone with internet access to quickly find information, provides educational resources for students and teachers, enables communication through messaging and social media, supports commerce through online buying and selling, and offers entertainment such as music, videos, and games. To sum up, the surface web is the most familiar and widely used part of the internet, offering access to information, communication, and services that make daily life easier. However, it represents just the tip of the iceberg of the whole internet, and users must also be aware of its limitations and the existence of different layers beyond what search engines can show. And that's all, everyone. Thank you for listening to my discussion about the information age and the surface web.
Hi everyone, my name is Dominador III V. Javillo, and I will discuss to you is first, deep web, second, edge computing, and last is federated learning. What is deep web? The deep web refers to any part of World Wide Web not indexed by standard search engine like Google, including private database, online banking portals, and subscription-based content, all of which can be accessed with a normal browser after authentication. What the deep web is, its portion of the internet. Those pages are not discoverable by standard search engine because they behind a login in a private database or dynamically generated. Legitimate uses. The deep web includes everybody content like online banking and financial account, email inboxes, private cloud storage platform, subscription-based service like Netflix, internal corporate network and intranets, academic and scientific database. Accessibility. You access the deep web using regular browser like Chrome and Brave, but you needed proper credentials like a username and password, or direct link to access specific content. Key characteristic. Number 1 is security and privacy. Much of the deep web exists to protect private information and provide secure access to the restricted data. Number 2 is size. The deep web is much larger than the surface web. The part indexed by search engine, with some estimate suggesting it constitutes 90 to 95% of the internet. Number 3. Not a single entity. There is no centralized point of access. Rather, it collection of varied, often internet-connected web resources. Edge computing. Edge computing is a distributed computing model that processes and stores data closer to the source where it's generated, like Internet of Things, device or local servers, instead of sending it to a central data center. How it works. Number 1. Decentralized processing. Rather than rely solely on a centralized cloud or data center, computing takes place at the edge of the network, proximity to the data sources. This edge include local service, gateway, or even end user device that are physically closer to the sensor, machine, and user generating data. Number 3. Reduce data transmission. Only essential or processed data is sent to the central data center or long-term storage or deeper analysis, while the bulk of the processing happen locally. Key benefits. Reduce latency. By processing data near its origin, edge computing eliminates the delay cost of sending data over long distance to a central server, leading to faster insights and responses. Increase efficiency. It helps to reduce the burden of the central data center and can lower data transmission and storage costs. Improve reliability. Processing data locally can make applications more resilient as they can continue to function even if the connection to the central data center is interrupted. Real-time decision making. It enables organizations to react to the event and make decisions in near real time, a critical capability for many modern applications. The last is federated learning. Federated learning is a decentralized approach to training machine learning models. Each node across the distributed network trains a global model using its local data, with a central service aggregating node updates to improve the global model. Artificial intelligence model required massive volume of the data.
Hello everyone, I'm Sebastian Nabier from BSIT 1D. I'm gonna report about dark web and cybersecurity.
First, what is dark web? The dark web is a hidden, unindexed part of the internet, accessible only with specialized software like the Tor browser, which uses encryption and decentralized networks to provide anonymity. And how it works? It combines strong layers of encryption with the ability to randomly bounce internet traffic through the Tor network of relays. This high barrier entry to the dark web exists to protect users' identity, online, and location, and maintain their anonymity. How to safe search in dark web? Secure the device. Yes. Ensure that your device are secured with antivirus software and a firewall. Regularly scan your device for malware, especially after accessing the dark web. Educate yourself. Stay informed about the latest cybersecurity threats and trends. Here's some uses of dark web. Secure whistleblowing tips. Newsrooms use secure drop-style union sites so source can submit documents anonymously. Next, journalism and source protection. Reporters receive leaks and communicate with source without exposing identities or location. Number 3. Circumventing censorship. Citizens in authoritarian states access black news, social media, or ban websites. Next, human rights and activist communications. NGOs and activists use union service to coordinate and share information safely. Next, privacy preserving hosting. Organization host service like forums, blogs, documents, archives that don't want to export server location or user's IP. Next and last, secure access to service. Banks, email providers, and major websites sometimes runs official union version to give stronger privacy to users. Here's some key characteristics. Number 1. Special access. Require Tor or similar software. Sites use like union.domains. Number 2. Anonymity. Hides user identity and server location through encryption. Number 3. Unindex. Not searchable via Google, must know the exact link. Number 4. Mixed content. Hosts both legal and journalism and illegal activities. Number 5. Centralized. No central control and hard to regulate. And last, number 6. High risk. Contains scam, malware, and potential legal dangers. This topic is cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is the practice of protecting computers, system networks, and data from digital attacks, damage, or unauthorized access. How it works: protecting digital system, networks, and data through a combination of technologies, processes, and best practices to prevent unauthorized access, theft, or damage. It employs tools like firewalls and antivirus software to block threats, encryption to scramble sensitive data, and strong access control to ensure only authorized user can get it in. Cybersecurity protects. Cybersecurity aims to protect against a variety of cyber threats, including ransomware and malware. Malicious software designed to disrupt operation, steal data, or encrypt files for ransom. Like some example, phishing, deceptive attempts to trick individuals into revealing sensitive information, often through fake emails or website. Number 2, data theft, unauthorized access to and removal of sensitive information from system. And last, unauthorized access, individuals gaining entry to system or network that they not are authorized to access. Why cybersecurity is important? Because it protects sensitive data from safeguards, personal and organizational data from theft, misuse, or compromise. Number 2, prevents financial loss, mitigates financial damage from cyber attacks such as fraud, ransomware payments, and recovery costs. Number 3, maintains business continuity, ensure that businesses can continue to operate without interruption from cyber threats. And last, safeguards critical infrastructure, protects essential services such as power grids and gas pipelines from being disabled by cyber attacks. Here's some key elements for dark web. Number 1. A robust cybersecurity strategy involves a combination of people, processes, and technology. Here's the definition for technology. Technology tools such as firewalls, antivirus software, and encryption are used to detect, prevent, and respond to threats. Number 2, definition. Processes. Stabilizing clear, secure policies, access control, and incident response plans to manage risk and ensure recovery from attacks. And last definition, people. User education and awareness are crucial to prevent human error and ensure that individuals adhere to secure best practices. Here's some.
I am Joshua Chung. My topic is sustainability of green ICT, cloth and smart ecosystem.
Sustainability Green ICT. Sustainability refers to the practice of meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs, with focusing on balancing environmental protection, social well-being, and economic growth. Often called the three pillars of sustainability: environmental, social, and economic. Some example of green ICT practicing: using energy efficient service and cloud computing reduce power use, implementing virtual meeting instead of business travel, recycle old electronics and reduce e-waste, smart power management in computer and mobile device, designing eco-friendly product using recyclable material. Green ICT. Green ICT, Information and Communication Technology, also known as Sustainable ICT, is the practice of designing, manufacturing, using, and disposing of computer service and another ICT system efficiently and and with minimal impact on the environment. It's an reduced energy consumption, minimize e-waste, and promote sustainable practice across the ICT life cycle. LOT, Internet of Things. The Internet of Things, or LOT, is a network interrelated device that connect and exchange data with another LOT device in the cloud. LOT devices are typically embedded with technology such as sensors and software and can include mechanical and digital machines and consumer objects. Key components of LOT devices: sensor collect real-world data, temperature, motion, location, health metrics. Connectivity transfer data via Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, 5G, or another network. Data processes analyzing information, opting the cloud or on the device. Computing user interface display inside of allows user to control device to up dashboard. Smart icon system. A smart icon system is the border environment where these lot devices work together, often integrating technologies like artificial intelligence, AI, cloud computing, and big data analytics to create connected, efficient, and adaptive systems in homes, cities, and industries, and healthcare.
Hi, I'm Jarkis Tinonggay, and today I will discuss the generative AI and machine learning at the scale and the extended reality and mixed reality. Generative AI and machine learning at scale. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are transforming industries. Globally, generative AI, which can create content, image, and even code, is now widely adopted. At the same time, ML models are increasingly deployed closer to where data is generated, such as on lot device and edge computing system. What is generative AI? Generative AI refers to system capable of creating new content, including text, image, and music. Example include ChatGPT, DALL-E, and GitHub Copilot. Application: content generation, articles, blog scripts, image and art creation, code generation and assistance, simulation and design automation. Machine learning at scale. Scaling ML involves training and deploying models efficiently on massive datasets. Today, ML models are being run closer to data source, on edge and lot device, reducing latency and improving performance. Benefits: faster data processing, real-time decision making, reduce data transmissions. Example of AI and ML in action. Smart assistants like Alexa and Siri use AI for natural language understanding. Self-driving cars rely on ML models for real-time object detection. Healthcare use AI for disease prediction and medical imaging. Retail leverage AI for personalized recommendation and inventory management. Lot device use HML for predictive Extended reality and mixed reality. What is extended reality? XR blends the real and virtual world, includes AR, VR, and MR, creates immersive and interactive experience. Types of extended reality. Augmented reality adds digital elements to the real world. Pokemon Go. Virtual reality fully immerse user in a digital environment. Mixed reality combines real and virtual elements that interact in the real time. Advantage in XR technology. Improvise hardware, lighter headset, higher resolution, more realistic display and motion tracking, enhance user interaction with gesture, haptics, and sensor. Application of XR. Education, virtual classroom and simulation. Training hands-on practice in safe virtual space. Entertainment, giving virtual concert, immersive movies. Medicine, surgery, training, therapy, patient care. Benefits of XR. Boost enhancement and learning retention. Enable remote collaboration, reduce risk and cost in training, creates new forms of creativity and entertainment. Challenges and limitation. High cost of equipment, required powerful hardware, possible motion sickness or discomfort, provides add data concern in virtual space. The future of XR. XR will become more affordable and accessible. Used widely in education, healthcare, and business. AI generation integration will make virtual experience smarter. Conclusion. XR is transforming how we learn, work, and play. The line between real and virtual is disappearing.